Hello, I'm a woman in my late 40s, and as I listen to many stories from a lot of people, I also remembered the time when I struggled a lot, so I'm sharing my story. When I was very young, my parents separated, and I got to live with my mom. She was a very strong person, so she raised me alone while operating a restaurant. The restaurant was doing well. My mom was so busy that she had no time to take a break, and because she was so hardworking, even though she was busy, she made sure that I did not eat any instant food and made healthy food for me and checked on my schoolwork in detail. Thanks to her, I was never behind in school and did not have any material wants. However, the absence of a father must have bothered me greatly because I always wanted to get married as soon as possible to build a good family of my own. As soon as I graduated from college, I met my husband at the company I worked for. Even though we dated for 2 years, I didn't have any wish to marry my husband because he wasn't my ideal type. But he was so aggressive and tenacious toward me that I was sort of dragged into dating him. Thus, when he brought up marriage, I hesitated. When I evaded the subject, my husband said, "Ines, you know all I have is you. I'm confident that I will do well when we get married. I will act like a son to my mother-in-law, and I will be good to you too." He hadn't yet met my mom, but when he addressed her as his mother-in-law, it was strange, but it felt good to hear it. Other than my husband not being my type, there was another reason for my reluctance. I didn't have a father, and from what I heard, the rumor was that my husband's mother was very picky about family background. I was sad enough that I grew up without a father, so I didn't want that to be something that I would be judged by other people. I guess my husband knew how I felt. He said, "My mom is sort of picky, but she has a warm heart and is very understanding of other people. Every family has their own private situation, so she wouldn't just oppose someone because of having no father in the family." I became very flustered. I haven't met your mom yet, so how would I know what kind of person she is? I don't have any bad opinion about your mom. Marriage is one of the most important matters in life, so I just want to be careful. I just made up an excuse and passed it over. It's in truth, my husband liked to go out with his friends to rowdy drinking places, but I preferred to stay home and have our own private time rather than going around in groups. The property teen is different. More points also bothered me. However, he kept trying to persuade me. Epstein City, I will reduce my going out drinking with my pals and do as you want. I will go grocery shopping with you. Is grocery shopping with you during weekends, and I will be able to read books and do cooking with you. Yes, I could do that, really. Eventually, I get persuaded by him. I vowed to myself that I would not let him talk me into marrying him, but what made me waver was because I thought, who would love me so much like my husband? So when my husband came to my house to meet with my mom, she held his hands tight and said, "Janice has grown up without a father, so she is a very lonely child. I hope you will feel that loneliness for her." When she said that, my tears welled up. I didn't know she knew I was lonely. I had been trying not to show that to her, but as always, my mom knew everything about me, and I felt a pang in my heart. After my husband came over to my house, I went to his house. I bought a whole bunch of gifts, including some expensive supplements for health and branded perfume. I felt very nervous, but my future mother-in-law wasn't that picky as the rumor. My son's father passed away when he was in high school, and I have been a widow ever since. So, if I was picky about that, that would make me out to be a strange person, wouldn't I? I think your mother is great for raising a fine daughter like you. When she said that, I felt very relieved. My mother-in-law seemed to be very interested when she heard that my mom operated a large restaurant. At that time, I didn't know that paying attention to the family background meant it was checking on the financial status, so I thought she was just complimenting my mom. Our marriage proceeded quickly, and we chose a fine day in the fall to have our wedding. During our newlywed, my husband showed his devotion, and even though he liked to go out and hang around with his friends, he tried to spend the weekend with me. His mother also did not demand unreasonable things from me. I did go and see her on my own every weekend, but unless there was a big family event or chores, she let me be free. But those free time lasted for only 3 years after we got married. As the saying goes, that a person cannot be changed. My husband started to spend more time out steadily. I understood that it was too restricting to be at home, and he could go out drinking with his buddies. However, he went out every day to go out drinking with his friends. At first, I thought that he was a person who liked to drink with his friends, so staying at home must have been too stuffy for him. But he went back to his original self, where he would just book a condo somewhere for the whole weekend and spend time away from home. In the meantime, there was a problem with my mom. Because my mom had co-signed for her friend that went wrong, and she had to give up her successful restaurant to the Dodora, and from the shock, she became ill after being depressed for a while. Rather than paying attention, I had to pay full attention to my mom as I went back and forth to my mom's house often. Then my mother-in-law told me that she was having her friends over and asked me to come to her house to roast some beef. "Mother, can you go out to eat this time?" That day is the date that I made an appointment at the hospital for my mom. She is not well, so she needs a major examination and testing. "I will pay for her dinner." Then she said sarcastically, "Do you think I have no money, so I'm asking you to roast beef?" If I have been that lenient with you all this time, I want you to act like a daughter-in-law. Why is it that you only care about your mother, even though you're married now and you've gotten into the habit of spending your husband's money to show off to your mother? I was so shocked that I was speechless. Her attitude was so different than before. Also, I had never neglected my role as the daughter-in-law, and I only needed to accompany my mom to the hospital because she had no one to go with her. But for her to say it that way was simply too shocking to me. My mom said she must have felt hurt. "Why don't you go to your mother-in-law's house? I could go to the hospital by myself. I'm old enough. Don't you think I could take care of myself?" "Mom, it's not that. It's okay, so let's go to the hospital together. I had never acted without manners to my mother-in-law, and I don't think it's right to complain when I'm taking you to the hospital because you're sick. We are not living in the Victorian era, so how could she stop me from taking care of my sick mother? I could just do something for her another time. I insisted and took my mom to the hospital. If I hadn't done that, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. My mom had stomach cancer, and it was at a very dangerous stage. I believe it was just too much for her when her friend went into hiding and the collateralized restaurant got transferred to someone else. When I held my mom and sobbed, my mom said, "I will be okay. I won't die that easily. I still haven't seen my grandchild in my arms. So, do you think I will go before then? I couldn't die like this. Never. I just need an operation and get treated." She comforted me instead. While my mom went through an operation and got chemotherapy, my mother-in-law never once contacted me. My husband didn't come to the hospital either. Because whenever she had time, my mother-in-law complained about the time that I didn't come over to do the cooking for her. These days, brides disrespect their in-laws and live freely as they wish for their own comfort only. Either Janice hasn't had a proper upbringing because of growing up without a father, or she is just a brat. She would blatantly degrade my family without any hesitation. She was so different than when I first met her. When our restaurant got taken, the restaurant got taken over by someone else, and my mom started to struggle with financial problems. I think she thought that she could treat me that way since she could have no benefits from us. I used to pay for her when she went to a very expensive hair salon. The owner of the hair salon said, "How could a person change like that overnight?" I had heard rumors before that she was a person who was very greedy and cared only about money. But when she was nice to you, I thought it must have been just rumors about her. But it was all true. I'm just telling you that because I feel so sorry for you. She told me that she talked badly about my mom and complained that I became penniless. There's nothing about her family. I thought at least her mom had money, so my son might benefit from that, but now they are totally penniless. What should we do if we have to take care of them? My mother-in-law was very upset and said that in the salon. Since she knew that I dropped by the salon once a month to pay her bills, I felt that she said that for me to hear about it on purpose. My husband was the same as his mother and did not bat an eye. I felt so hurt that I could only cry, and I wanted to get divorced immediately, but I couldn't have my mom worry about me. If my mom thought it was all caused when her restaurant was lost, I didn't think my mom would recover from it. So, I just had to swallow it and put it up for now. I only paid attention to take care of my mom, even though I had to enjoy my mother-in-law's ridiculous nagging and my husband's neglect while he was out drinking and into his friends. But whether my care wasn't enough, my mom's health deteriorated and eventually she passed away. Whenever I think about that day, I have such a deep heartache. That day, my mother-in-law complained to me that she had nothing to eat and demanded that I come over to prepare some dishes. I wanted to stay with my mom since her condition was so terrible, but I thought my mother-in-law would badmouth my mom again and nag. So I reluctantly bought some groceries and went over to her house. I was going to prepare some dishes quickly and go back to the hospital. But she kept insisting that I set the table. It would taste good to eat the pasta right away when it's hot. So you set the table. Mother, I will just do the serving, but I need to leave because my mom is not well at all. Aren't there a lot of doctors and nurses? Even if it's not you, there are a lot of people who would care for your mom. Even if you're there, what could you do for her? You would just be in the way. Why don't you do just a half of what you do to care for your mom and care for me? What's left there from your mom? Who's heavy in debt? I will set the table, so don't talk that way. Is my mom only a mother when she has money? I got upset and retorted. Then she glared at me. I glared at her, but I ignored her and set the table. Then I got a call from the hospital that my mom had passed away. No, Mom, no. See what happened? It's because of you that I had to make the food for you, and I couldn't be by her on her deathbed. Look what's happened. I started crying and yelling and ran out of my mother-in-law's house to go to the hospital, completely dazed. I still don't remember how I got to the hospital. I just held on to my mom's dead body and sobbed out loud. However, my husband did not come and appeared only after the funeral was over. I had lost all my feelings for him, so I wasn't even angry. I couldn't be by my mother's side, so what could I say to my husband? My husband seemed to be impatient to leave the funeral, and my mother-in-law stayed at the funeral on the second day only briefly and left without eating anything. Then the next day, she called me to come over to help with cooking again. Because I had just made some food before and still there was a lot left. I thought it was just her scheme to disrespect my mom and me. I didn't say anything and just hung up the phone and finished my mom's funeral. After the burial, when I came home, my mother-in-law was at our house. Then she did the most bizarre act. As soon as I got into the front door, she poured a ball of salt on me. Hey, get out of here. You are a penniless lot, yet you disrespect your mother-in-law, so I have no desire to have a daughter-in-law like you. So get out of my house. I don't want the bad spirit from your damn mother to haunt our house, so turn around and just get out. Put the salt all over me. I stood and looked at my husband, who was just sitting on a sofa behind his mom. Then, without any expression, he took off his shirt and laid down on the sofa and turned on the TV. My mother-in-law put my husband's shirt into a plastic bag, then threw it at me, shouting, "Take that with you as you go out. It's bad luck as it came from the funeral, so take those with you." My husband didn't attempt to stop his mom and looked as if he was sick of it and just turned up the volume on the TV. Because I was so exhausted from the funeral together with the sadness since my mom's death. I had no energy to fight with my mother-in-law and my husband. However, I thought I couldn't live in this household any longer. I pushed aside my mother-in-law, who tried to stop me from entering, and went into the bedroom and packed my stuff quickly and left. I stayed at my friend's house and spent time just crying. I was sad that my mom had passed away, and I was very angry at how my husband and my mother-in-law treated me because my mom was no longer with me. However, I couldn't remain just like that, so I gathered every penny I had and rented a small studio and started looking for a job. Happy, even though I had a good job before, without recent work history, there was no company that would offer me a job. Then, with my friend's recommendation, I started working in the administrative office at a nursing home. Because the work wasn't hard work for me, I didn't have any difficulty getting adjusted. I worked really hard. As I was trying to stand on my own 2 feet, my ex-husband came to see me several times. "It's enough now, so you should come back. Until when are you going to stay outside like this and pout? Why should I return to your family who says I bring bad luck because of my mom's funeral? Don't pretend you're thinking of me and just sign the divorce papers. You're only looking for someone to cook for you when you come home, drunk, and make food for your mom." Then my husband just frowned and left. A few days later, he sent back the divorce papers signed. So that's how my husband and I got divorced, and I even worked harder at the nursing home. Even though it wasn't my responsibility, I helped clean the area that the seniors used together and became their friend to talk with once in a while. Whenever I saw them, they reminded me of my mother, so it made me give them a second look to see what I could do for them. The nursing home director was impressed with me and gave me a separate bonus. "Janice, you have a lot to do, but you do them so well and still find the time to take care of the elders. So I'm very grateful. It's my job. My parents divorced when I was very young, and my mom just passed away not too long ago. I feel like they are my parents, so I'm just doing it because I want to." I didn't know that. However, it's not that easy to try to please everyone as if they are your parents. You must be born that way. Why not try to get a license to become a nursing home director? I did not think about that, but I thought it would be good if the director guided me, and I followed her instructions, studying hard accordingly, and got my certification as a social worker. Then, I finished the courses to become a nursing home director. My boss certified the hours I needed by validating the experience I received from taking care of the elders, while I worked in the admin office and had me manage other social workers. I really worked hard at it. I paid closer attention to the elders and their environments, and within the allowed budget, I tried to get them the best quality items. I guess it was effective, and soon the reputation that our nursing home was great started to spread, and people who wanted to enter our nursing home increased a lot more than before. Then a man around in his 50s came to see me one day. I thought he came to inquire about admitting his parents, but he asked, "Are you Janice Anderson? I'm the attorney for Mr. Alan Thorpe." "Mr. Alan Thorpe? Ah, is that elderly senior?" "Yes, he passed away not too long ago." That elderly man was someone that I had paid special attention to, because if I had my dad, I thought he would be around the same age. So whenever I was just doing the administrative work, I stopped by often to help him wash his face and put on lotion. I would take him outside in his wheelchair and put sunscreen on his face, and we went out often. The attorney told me that he had a lot of property. He didn't have any children, so originally, he was going to donate everything to a non-profit organization. But before he passed away, he changed his will and left 20 of his assets in your name. The money he left me amounted to approximately $5 million. It was so unexpected that I didn't know what to do. A change of actions. During that time, my nursing home director had a lot of worries about improving the facilities and expanding it. So, I decided to invest partly in the nursing home. Janice, would that be okay? I don't know how it will turn out in the future, so wouldn't it be a loss for you? How could I spend it better than here? You helped me a lot when I was having a hard time. I'm glad that I could be helpful in this way. For someone so young like you, it's my first time meeting someone who's so loyal as you. Thank you, Janice. Let's try our hardest together. My director had tears in her eyes and held my hands warmly. So she and I bought a building next to ours, and we increased the number of hospital rooms and several facilities so that we could admit more elderly people we couldn't accept due to lack of rooms. Then the image of our nursing home improved as well. Then one day, my husband called me. "How are you doing, honey? I heard that you're now managing the nursing home. It seems that everything worked out well for you. I don't know where you heard that, but it's none of your business. You shouldn't address me, honey. I'm not your honey." When I scorned him, he couldn't say anything more and hung up the phone. Then, a few days later, my ex-mother-in-law came to see me at the nursing home. I didn't want to meet with her, but she boldly pushed her way into my office and plopped down on the floor, wailing about her poor situation. "Amai, they tell me that I have cancer. Please save me." She was holding on to me, begging that I could only sigh. "I heard that your nursing home has an excellent facility and has very good food. Please let me be admitted." "You cannot be admitted here." "What do you mean?" "Since you are managing here, you can use your connections. Think of our past together. Oh, we have priorities, and you are out of that priority. Just get admitted to a hospital." "But the hospital says that I'm not at that level to be hospitalized." "Why are you addressing me so coldly? I have nothing to be affectionately connected with you. When I think about the time when my mom was sick, it breaks my heart. Because of you, I couldn't even be by my mother's deathbed. So now you come to see me so that you can live more comfortably and demand to be admitted here. Don't you have any conscience? There is no place for someone like you who is so capable and healthy, who can go around and boast. If you have an early stage of thyroid cancer, if you get treated diligently, you should recover. I wonder why God has taken my mom, who did nothing but work hard and live kindly, but someone like you, who's in the habit of using other people. Well, I must have needed good people. I try to think. You look down on people with no money. I don't even have anyone I could introduce someone like you to. So, I hope you understand. I turned around coldly, but she held onto my sleeves and said, "Why do you keep bringing up the past?" I became so angry, and was going to say something when the door opened and my director came into my office and poured a ball of salt over my mother-in-law. This is my first time doing this to someone who claims she's sick, but you shouldn't live this way if you have any conscience. You kicked out your daughter-in-law when she came home from the funeral, and yet how could you come here and demand to be admitted here? Then the people who heard that outside of the first floor all stared at my mother-in-law and started to whisper. How could she be that thick-faced? If she's that sick, let her son take care of her. Then my mother-in-law hid her face and rushed out among the people. My director apologized to the people for the noise and settled the matter. It's too bad that my ex-mother-in-law became sick, but I felt avenged, however. In comparison to what she did to me when my mom was dying, it was nothing. After that incident, my mother-in-law nor my husband contacted me again. Later, I found out that my ex-mother-in-law went through several social workers and aides, and because no one wanted to help her, she came to see me. She was mean to everyone and was being disrespectful of the help they provided. I'm not sure if she was being punished for her acts, but because she could find no one to care for her, she was living with a relative out in the rural country. I heard nothing more after that. That happened already 5 years ago. I'm still working with the director at the same nursing home. I just met someone nice and we have been dating. I don't know whether we will get married, but I plan to just work hard at my job first. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope that all of you are well in your life as well as with your health. Please cheer for me and write your comments of wisdom in the comment section. Pressing like and subscription is a big help to me. Have a wonderful day.